I feel like it was like that for a lot of us. It's easier for me than it was for Tom because I wasn't playing a character that had already existed in the previous film.
The Snow White issue has exploded into unprecedented territory, with Joe Rogan becoming the latest voice to join the growing chorus of criticism. What started as a simple remake has morphed into one of Hollywood's most dramatic controversies, leaving Disney executives scrambling and their leading actress under fire from all directions. The situation reached a boiling point when Joe Rogan, never one to mince words, took direct aim at both Disney and Rachel Zegler on his massively popular podcast. I mean, come on, you're a Disney princess, and you're out here telling people to never know peace. What are you doing? Rogan exclaimed, clearly baffled by Zegler's past social media posts. It's like being cast as Cinderella and then telling half your audience they're trash. How does that help anyone? The controversy has grown far beyond just creative differences. When leaked footage of the film's trailer began circulating, it quickly became one of YouTube's most disliked videos in history, an amazing achievement considering YouTube now hides the dislike. Counter sources revealed that the trailer achieved a staggering 96.3% dislike ratio, with viewers going out of their way to install browser extensions just to show their disapproval behind the scenes. The situation has become even more chaotic. Former Disney Imagineer Jim Shaw, after a 33-year career with the company, dropped a surprise by describing the film as unwatchable and suggesting it should skip theaters entirely and go straight to streaming.
This with large Western companies and brands, but we bring to China a type of ideology, admittedly a relatively benign one as it relates to politics in China, but still a Western ideology. And in many ways that had
unprecedented criticism from a Disney veteran sent shockwaves through the industry. But what really caught everyone's attention was Zegler's seemingly dismissive attitude toward the original story. In interview after interview, she appeared to distance herself from the classic tale that had enchanted generations. I was scared of the original cartoon. She admitted in one especially controversial moment, I think I watched it once, and then I never picked it up again. These words didn't just raise eyebrows. They ignited a firestorm among Disney's loyal fan base. Joe Rogan didn't hold back when addressing this obvious disconnect. Disney has this whole thing about being family-friendly, right? He questioned it on his show, but then you've got their Snow White basically telling people to go to hell. It's just terrible optics. His words resonated with millions of listeners who were already questioning Disney's direction with the project. The controversy deepened when details about the film's changes began leaking to the public. The 7 dwarfs changed into what Disney called magical creatures, and the prince was nearly written out of the story entirely. Even the core idea of fairest of them all was being reinterpreted to focus on justice rather than beauty. These alterations led Rogan to make a stark prediction. These artists are on shaky ground right now. They've got to be panicking. Social media exploded with comparisons between Zegler's approach and how other actresses had handled similar parts. One popular TikTok user pointed out that Disney found a way to cast someone for Snow White whose entire personality is "I hate Snow White." The contrast became even more stark when people began comparing Zegler's interviews to Bailey's respectful handling of The Little Mermaid remake. Perhaps most telling was the leaked trailer's reception. Industry sources revealed that Disney had to pull down a second teaser after it started accumulating dislikes at an unprecedented rate. If I were Disney, Rogan suggested during one episode, I throw this thing on Disney Plus and call it a day. The backlash isn't worth it. The situation has become even more chaotic. Former Disney Imagineer Jim Shaw, after a 33-year career with the company, dropped a surprise by describing the film as unwatchable and suggesting it should skip theaters entirely and go straight to streaming. This unprecedented criticism from a Disney veteran sent shockwaves through the industry, but what really caught everyone's attention was Zegler's seemingly dismissive attitude toward the original story.
My advice to them was to not hear the noise as much, to continue doing the job that we've entrusted them to do,
right?
Which is to tell the truth, to state the facts, to present the news in an accurate and a fair and in a timely basis.
who rarely criticized the company openly, couldn't stay silent behind closed doors. Sources revealed that test screenings had given concerning results. Disney has to be sitting there like, "What did we sign up for?" Rogan quipped on his show, "It's like putting a dragon as the lead in Sleeping Beauty, a cool idea until it starts burning everything down." What makes this situation particularly fascinating is Zegler's reaction to the mounting criticism during a D23 presentation. She looked emotional when discussing the film, saying, "I didn't get to grieve the project. First of all, when you wrap something, there's a grieving process that I did not have. But rather than calming the storm, these words only intensified public scrutiny." As Rogan pointed out, every time she tries to explain herself, it just makes things worse. The leaked video of the Seven Dwarfs replacement characters became another major point of contention, as one insider described them as being at uncanny valley levels of creepy. The CGI creatures were so controversial that even disability advocates spoke out, arguing that Disney had missed a chance for authentic representation. "We went from 7 popular characters to what looks like something from a horror movie." One viral comment noted things got even more complicated when Zegler admitted she hadn't even seen the end product during a press event. She admitted, "I haven't seen it yet. We were upstairs, and we weren't allowed to watch." This admission led to more questions about the film's quality and Disney's faith in their product. Rogan's response was characteristically blunt. When your own star hasn't seen the movie, that's generally not a positive sign. The financial implications have become impossible to ignore. Industry experts are predicting that this controversy could impact not just Snow White, but Disney's entire live-action remake strategy. The stats are wild. One industry insider noticed with a 96.3% dislike ratio on YouTube. This isn't just regular backlash. This is historically bad. Even more telling was that viewers had to go out of their way to install browser extensions just to express their disapproval, since YouTube usually hides the dislike counter. The situation has become even more complex with the revelation of Zegler's words about the prince's role in the story. What was whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess. Until 20,124 all of Andrew's parts could get cut, who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. This casual dismissal of a core element of the story led Rogan to question the entire project's direction. It's like they're making a totally different movie and just—
Jacqueline, if they play Getaway Car or Maroon, she's on crisis watch. And not only did she play Getaway Car, she also played Maroon. I was having a mental breakdown in the audience.
slapping the Snow White name on it. He noted on his podcast that the contrast between this controversy and other Disney remakes couldn't be more stark. As Rogan pointed out, look at how Halle Bailey handled The Little Mermaid. She showed respect for the original while adding something new to it. This feels like they're trying to tear down the original just to make news. The comparison gained traction on social media with side-by-side clips of Bailey's gracious interviews next to Zegler's more controversial statements getting viral. Disney's attempt to redefine the phrase "fairest of them all" to focus on justice rather than beauty became another flashpoint, while Zegler supported this change as modernization. Critics saw it as unnecessary political messaging. I did. It was so fun. Oh my god. As a big Disney fan, it was so exciting to finally get to go to D23. I live on the East Coast, so I was never able to go, and also tickets sell out like in a flash. So it was so exciting to go, and my mom was super jealous because my mom is the reason I'm a Disney fan. They're not updating the story, they're totally rewriting it. Rogan noted that if you want to tell a different story, why not just make a new character instead of changing everything about Snow White? The backlash has been so severe that industry insiders say Disney executives are in crisis mode. Former Disney Imagineer Jim Shaw's description of the film as unwatchable sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Even more telling was his suggestion to skip the theatrical release completely, a devastating assessment from someone who dedicated 33 years to the company. Rogan's take: when your own people are telling you your product sucks, that's usually a sign something's gone badly wrong. The controversy has evolved beyond just artistic differences or casting choices. It's become a referendum on how Hollywood approaches classic stories in modern times. These companies are so focused on checking boxes that they forgot why people loved these stories in the first place. Rogan observed his words resonated with audiences who felt increasingly disconnected.
The rice has to be body temperature, and if it takes too long to serve it, it's no longer body temperature. But what was interesting to me about him was he had 3 Michelin stars, and he was still trying to learn how to get better, how to be better.
Yes.
And I showed that to
There was genuine
executives.
excitement about what she could bring to the role. However, as Rogan pointed out on his podcast, it's like they cast someone who actively dislikes the character they're playing. How does that make any sense? This disconnect has become hard to ignore, especially after Zegler's admission that she was terrified of the original film and avoided it for 16 years. The situation reached peak absurdity when Zegler admitted during a press event that she hadn't even seen the final product. "I haven't seen."
What was it like seeing yourself for the first time in full Snow White drag?
I love that description. It's perfect. Oh my God. Well, when you get to wear Sandy Powell, first of all, insane. And then you get to be lit by Mandy Walker.
It yet. We were backstage, and we weren't allowed to watch. She admitted, adding to concerns about the film's quality. As Rogan noted, when they wanted to even show the movie to their own star, that's usually not a good sign. It's like they're trying to hide how bad it is. Perhaps most telling is how this controversy has united critics from across the spectrum. From longtime Disney fans to industry professionals, from social media influencers to podcast giants like Rogan, the consensus seems clear.
I did. It was so fun. Oh my God. As a huge Disney fan, it was so exciting to finally get to go to D23. Yeah. I live on the East Coast, so I was never able to go, and also tickets sell out like in a flash. So it was so exciting to go, and my mom was super jealous because my mom is the reason I'm a Disney fan.
The board was making a decision to make a change at the CEO level at Disney, and that they might ask me to step back.
And you say to her?
And I said to Willow, I'm getting this call. It's possible that
went terribly wrong with Snow White. The film has become a cautionary tale about what happens when studios lose touch with their audience. With one viral comment summing it up perfectly, Disney found a way to cast someone for Snow White whose entire personality is "I hate Snow White." As this story continues to unfold, one thing's become crystal clear. The fairy tale ending Disney hoped for seems increasingly out of reach, with Joe Rogan's massive platform amplifying these criticisms to millions of listeners, and former Disney insiders like Jim Shaw saying the film might be unwatchable. The question isn't whether Snow White will leave a mark on Disney's legacy, but how deep that mark will be. Make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated on this breaking story. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear what you think about Joe Rogan's take on the debate and whether Disney can salvage anything.